everyone. Welcome back to another podcast. I can't believe this is episode number 99. Welcome to Soulishfemme. My name is Glenaville. Manarang to those of you who are here for the very first time. I would like to personally welcome you back. Today is titled How to Gracefully Heal in Time. I really think that every one of us need to be healed properly so that we don't just escape, run, and numb our pain using any kinds of addiction and crutches because we are too coward to look at our own pain. If you are here for the very first time, I would like to tell you that most of my topic on my podcast talks about prospering body, spirit, and soul, and they are all about experiences that I have endured, trauma, childhood trauma, sexually abused, and escaping from narcissism and encountering another narcissistic, abusive relationship. So there are a lot of playlists that you would like, if you'd like to go back and listen to them, feel free to do so. The link is down below. So what are the ways for us to heal gracefully? I think we don't need permission to do things that are best suitable for our lives. As I said before, there is no time frame with your healing. You cannot track fast it. You cannot make people believe that just because it happened 20 years ago that you're not going to have episodes or you're not going to have memories, because even though you're no longer in that abusive relationship, but your memory will not forget. It will be part of your life until the day you die. And you need to just do the things that are suitable for your life. Maybe if you need time to rest, decompress, do some journaling, deepening your walk with God. And there's actually a story in the Bible, two sisters named Martha and Mary, and Jesus usually spent time with them because they were welcoming. And one of the things that Jesus actually told Martha when she was too busy trying to convince herself that probably she was trying to impress Jesus. Can you imagine if the Messiah is in your house? And Mary, the sister, decided to sit next to Jesus, listening to his teachings. And Martha actually complained. I'm not talking about Martha Stewart. So Martha said, "Why don't you tell my sister to help out in the kitchen? Can't you not see, Jesus, that I'm very busy in the kitchen trying to prepare a meal for everybody? And here is my sister, absolutely oblivious to what's happening. I need help in the kitchen." And then what did Jesus say? "Martha, Martha, Martha, you worry so much other things that technically they will not matter in the long run." So how many of us are actually in this cycle of constantly busy, constantly trying to prove ourselves because we think that the more we do, we are more acceptable or we are more lovable if we are trying to prove ourselves to people. So that's my next one point is you don't need permission to do the things that are suitable for you. If you need to rest, need to rest. If you need to go on vacation, go on vacation. If you need to just get out from your social media for a month or so and go AWOL, just do what's best for you. Because I think when you're trying to heal gracefully, you don't need other people's permission when to do it. You just have to listen to yourself and to your body. And then, of course, move at your own pace because there is no rush in healing. As I always like to say, no one can give you an expiration date or a timeline of when you can be feeling happier than before. Moving at your own pace is about eliminating the unnecessary things in your life. It has to be maybe congested to or condensed to 5 to-do lists. If you are like me, who like to have to-do list every single day, and it's too much for you to do so, as I always like to say, you can delegate that task to someone else, or you can do those tasks that you have not done today, tomorrow. But you need to, if you want to heal, you have to really stop this urgency of, I need to get these things done. And sometimes the things that we think that are important are actually not important. sometimes I have to stop myself and says, is this really helping me grow my business? Is this really helping me make money? Because we think that if we can just do the laundry right now, I need to do it right now, or I need to scrub the toilet, then probably they're going to appreciate me more. I'm talking about me, is that the people around me. When in fact, the people around you, the people that you live with, are probably oblivious that your toilet needs to be cleaned, or unless of course your family is going to complain that they have no socks to wear or no underwear to wear because you have not done the laundry. But because we have so much to do on our list that sometimes our priority is switched. I'm a person who usually get things done, like the household work in the very beginning in the morning, because I want to just get it out of the way. But sometimes the things that I need to do that makes me money, like podcasting or updating my blog or making sure that my Pinterest is pinned properly so that people are going to know that I have a blog. But yet, for some reason, the to-do list are the chores like laundry and prepping meals and cleaning my toilet. Somehow I put them on the top of my list because I like to make my place tidy and organized. And I have to really be mindful that sometimes those things that does not make me money or doesn't help improve my business, I need to just think that these things can wait. I mean, the laundry can wait. And the dishes probably can wait. But of course, we want to get things done. Although it doesn't take us that long to get things done. So what I do is that I would wake up in the morning and then I just put the laundry in and just forget about it. And then come back to it when I have done my podcast or updated my blog. So moving at your own pace is about knowing your time table and having a schedule daily. And this is exactly has helped me a lot to schedule what my daily routine is. Although I am not very good at sticking to my routine, I like to be flexible, but I have a general idea of when to do my laundry and how I do my work and when I can produce my podcast. But you don't need to have other people telling you how to live your life. You need to evaluate the best routine for you in that day, depending on how many children you have and the kind of demand that's waiting for you. But because we think that my pace has to be a pace of someone else's in my family, because my sister is probably good at juggling 5 different things, therefore I have to copy what she's doing. But eventually, if you're not careful, you become very stressed out because her life is probably not the same as your life, and maybe she have 3 kids and you have only 1, depending on, of course, the kind of responsibility that you have to face. Then, of course, if you want to heal gracefully, you got to let go of perfectionism. Perfectionist people is the most critical of themselves. Perfectionist often spots mistakes, and we think that maybe I'm not improving because I thought that I am not very easily triggered, but why am I triggered today? Or we have been putting aside goals. I really think that when you are trying to heal from your trauma, you will tend to procrastinate. I remember the time when I was still healing that I usually put things aside and I procrastinate more because I was too tired. I was too exhausted. I had no more energy, because the problem with people who have been through abusive relationship, you were in that fight or flight trying to survive, and no wonder why sometimes your body wants just to ignore the important things. And we somehow think that if I'm going to wait for the perfect moment, if I feel like it, be careful with the word, whenever I feel like it, whenever I feel ready. That is a feeling that you want to silence, that you want to change that and shift that kind of mindset, because you will never feel ready. Especially if you're still healing from your trauma, there is no perfect time. You will always going to feel as though you're never ready. And perfectionism is that, what is it called? It is the foe that you have to silence all the damn time. Whether we admit it or not, there is no such thing as when I feel like I am completely healed and I feel much better about myself, then I will start the hobby or I will start the business. As I said before, when I was healing, I had to simultaneously occupy myself, even though I was struggling inside my house, trying to survive from the abusive relationship. But I did not stop growing. I did not stop going to school. I didn't stop having a job. I didn't stop doing things that I still like. That is the problem with many victims that were in the abusive relationship. They thought that they have to completely halt their life because they are maybe thinking to themselves that I will just quit and give up on myself completely because of the things that I'm going through. But that is why you have to flip that kind of narrative that you have been believing yourself, because when you are in the abusive relationship, it is very hard to force yourself to do things that are necessary for your betterment of your life, but you will thank yourself later. I thank God that I didn't quit then. I thank God that even though I was going through hardships in my life and I was going through an abusive relationship, I did not stop living my life. I still live, as I said, a double life. On the outside, I live as though I had a normal teenage years. I had friends. I went out, but then that didn't stop me from moving forward. And then, of course, another way for you to heal gracefully is to cultivate stillness. Stillness is part of your healing journey. And this quote that I got from online from Charlotte Erickson and says, "You're doing just fine." I'm going to read the quote. She says, "Go outside, don't tell anyone, and don't bring your phone. Start walking and keep walking until you no longer know the road like the palm of your hand, because we walk the same roads day in and day out, to the bus and back home, and we cease to see. We walk in our sleep and teach our muscles to work without thinking, and I dare you to walk where you have not yet walked, and I dare you to notice. Don't try to get anything out of it, because you won't. Don't try to make use of it, because you can't, and that's the point. Just walk, see, sit down if you like, and be. Just be. Whatever you are with whatever you have, and realize that is enough to be happy. There's a whole world out there right outside your window. You'd be a fool to miss it." End quote. So that is what you call stillness, or cultivating this idea of analyzing or realizing the things around you, the small things around you. When you're in the survival mode trying to escape from the narcissistic abuse, you have a very limited space and limited environment, and all you can think of is, how can I get away from this place? How can I escape from this trauma or from this narcissistic abusive relationship? How can I escape from this? And you are most likely are blinded by the beauty around you because of the pain. Most people that are trying to heal, especially when you're still in that healing journey and you are still in that abusive relationship, it is very hard for you to focus on the good things. It is very hard for you to be optimistic in life because of the pain. How can you possibly have joy and happiness when you are in the midst of trial, in the midst of the pain? You can't. However, if you want to heal and you want to gracefully heal from your trauma, you must allow yourself to start getting acquainted with the things that you like to enjoy. For instance, for me, that I'm still in my healing journey, I still find things and collect things that I find enjoyable, such as flowers and plants. I think I have shared on my podcast that I'm now creating a small garden in my patio, bringing plants and flowers and put a table there and spending more time outside. That helps regulate my emotion. That helps me calm down with my nervous system. So you really have to understand that when you want to heal, you need to be aware of the small things that ignite your passion again and help you create this stillness and peace and serenity in your life, such as maybe lighting a candle that can invoke a peaceful scent that will help you elevate any kind of tension in your body, listening to a soothing music. As I said before, I would always like to listen to instrumental music or a Christian music. I will try to link down below. I think her name is Julia something. And you just allow that music to help you release any tension out of your body. And that is what you call, maybe it is kind of trying to navigate your emotions. There are certain music that can invoke your emotion from your childhood, and I've done this practice before. The first time I have done this is way back when I have attended a women's retreat, where they will ask you if you have endured such pain. They will allow you to lie down on not on the bed, on the floor. There's a mat, and they will play the music, and then you just have to listen to the music and to the lyrics. And then you have to really go back to the place of your trauma. And that's why there's a lot of tears pent up and emotions pent up. And tears are going to help you to release all of that pent up emotion. This is why it's okay to cry. And if you have not done so this exercise, I will tell you it is one of the most remarkable experience that I have done many years ago that I will recommend for you to do. From time to time, I would do this exercise still today. I would spend in my bedroom, pick a music, laying on the floor. It could be instrumental, harp, piano, whatever of kind of choice that you like, and just listen to that and allow yourself to go back to the memories that you have suppressed, that you have ignored for a long time. This is why many people ignore this practice, because it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes to invoke the past memory of their childhood because it's painful. However, you cannot run constantly from your pain. You need to have the time to reflect and to acknowledge the bad things that happen in your life. You cannot possibly pretend like it didn't happen. That's why Jesus said, the truth will set you free. The only reason for you to be healed from your trauma and to really become a better version of yourself is to confront it, to acknowledge it, and to admit that those bad things had happened to you in your childhood. And there's no other way around. You have to go through it. That is the only way for you to feel much better in your life. So, and the last but not the least is that you have to cultivate the joy of living. One of the things I love about French culture is that they have this saying of the joy of living, joie de vivre. I'm pretty sure you have heard that phrase before. It is the simplest things in life that you try to enjoy, maybe drinking your cup of coffee and savoring every meal, being mindful of how you live your life. It's about what you put in your body, what kind of things you invite into yourself or into your place. It's about dressing up impeccably, even though no one is watching you or you have nowhere else to go, but you care about your appearance and you care about the things about your life. Maybe it actually will make you think that not clothing is not just a piece of garment that you put on your body. Clothing is a statement. However you dress yourself and you show up to the world, it is most likely it's how you feel about yourself. If you want to feel good, you must take care of your appearance. It is not shallow. It is not superficial for you to think that I should not care about how I look, my hair, my nails, or my dress. I don't care because nobody cares anyway. But it's not a matter of who cares about what you look like or what you're wearing. It's about how you feel. Because clothing is not just a clothing, it's a reflection of how you feel on the inside. As I always like to say, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel crappy, it's because maybe you have neglected your appearance. You are probably not caring about, does this clothes fit me well? Do I really like the color? Does this suit to my complexion? Do I feel good about it? You'll be surprised that a cute dress, even though it doesn't cost that much, if you put it on, you will feel much better and your confidence level will be off the roof. You should probably do this exercise. That's why I said that when I was in high school, going through my trauma, I used fashion to help me heal. It was my crutch. It was my way of playing a role that every time I would put on a clothing, and I would just put on the kind of outfit that is suitable for my body at that time of my life, when I was trying to figure out how am I going to survive from this abusive relationship. And I used fashion to escape from my childhood trauma. I used fashion to give me an outlet to express how I truly felt, a different version of me, of course, because what I felt really before was afraid and hopelessness, or helplessness rather. But because I did not want to make my trauma or pain as my brand, or I did not use my pain and trauma as my way of telling the world that I'm actually helpless and have nothing to do. I was trying to create this illusion and use fashion. As I said, and when I was in high school, I was called the most dressed person, the fashionista. I would dress up impeccably with boots on and a nice skirt and a blazer on, as if I was going to a runway or I was modeling for something. And one of my classmates says, I don't know why you always dress up as if you're going somewhere else. And I just didn't know how to answer that kind of comment. I just kept it to myself. But they didn't know that that was my way of trying to escape from the reality that I was enduring at home. It was my way of having this outlet so that I could really survive from the pain that I was enduring at home. So I had, as I said, the kind of compartmentalization. I was able to compartmentalize what was happening on the outside and inside of my house. I was having a double life, per se. That was the kind of survival mechanism that helped me go through. That's why I bought magazines. I was into Cosmopolitan. I bought, the kinds of magazines, Vogue, or what else was the magazine in those days that were very popular, that Shape magazine. And every time I look at those and browse through the magazine, it truly made me realize that there's a better world out there, and that is fashion and creating something. And I think for me, it was like a fantasy world, creating an illusion perhaps for people to think like, what in the world were I thinking at that time? But because I thought that there must be a way to really just not live in the victimhood mindset, but to create a world that is beautiful, that is fabulously are dressed up in a way that where women were flawless. Maybe that was the reason why I was drawn to those magazines, because when I was living in my childhood, in my teenage years, I had a horrible experience. I don't know how to survive it, and fashion and magazine and those things helped me get through it. Of course, God and my faith in God and all of that stuff. But in addition to my faith with God and my way of surviving from the abusive relationship, I also use those crutches, if you want to call them crutches. I also use fashion and dress and outfit and magazines to help me cope with the pain. Because I think our brain somehow has a way to help us protect us from losing it completely. That's why it will find a way for you to help you ease the pain so it's going to be bearable. That's why I really think that many people have crutches or addictions, because these are their coping mechanisms. For some people, it could be drugs and alcohol and gambling or gaming or sex or whatever it could be, or watching porn. Because as a human being, when we're hurting and we are in that midst of cobweb of chaos and we don't know where to turn to. In my case, I was young and I didn't know where to turn to. And if I would tell a person, I was asking myself, would they believe me? Would they just say that I made it up? I was very young. And so I had to find a way to help me cope the pain so that it was not too much to bear. And so I turned to fashion. I turned to makeup. I turned to magazines. And I have uncovered that there is a different world out there. And of course, at that time, I didn't know that it will help me ease the pain that I was going through. And until to this day, I still like to browse through the magazines and still love fashion. I still love how I dress and create my own way of expressing myself, because I think clothing is an expression. It is not just, as I said, it's not just a piece of garment. It is how you express yourself. It is what is going on within your soul. It is an expression of your soul, and with that, it will help you really tell the world without telling them, without speaking a word. And that is why it is one of the things that we can have joie de vivre, or the joy of living, in the simplest things, in the smallest things of finding joy, bringing flowers, bringing plants, lighting a candle, taking a bath, walking in nature, journaling, whatever it could be. And so that is why it is possible to heal gracefully, with your own time, without the expiration, without the what do you call this, the pressure from other people by telling you that you must be okay now by this time tomorrow or by 2050, because healing is an ongoing process. As I said, you will have bad days and you will have good days, and you will have feeling as if you have completely progressing 2 steps ahead, and then next thing you know, you're actually going back 3 steps backwards. And it's the ebbs and the flows of life. It is never linear. And so do not pressure yourself by believing that there must be something wrong with you, because you have not yet fully healed. And so that is all that I would like for you to think about, and really know that it is possible to be healed, and you just have to believe in yourself and be patient with the time. And although pain will leave you a scar, it will always does. The scar that you have left with, the mark of the scar, is going to be part of you until the day you die. And it's not going to disappear, but at least the time is going to heal all its wounds. Time will heal all its wounds. But the sooner you take care of your wound, the faster you'll get better, and the faster you're going to be able to move forward. So yes, time heal all wounds. However, if you're just going to ignore it and pretend like it didn't happen, you are going to live and die miserably, and you are never going to have breakthrough, and you're never going to experience what it feels like to be completely healed, because you refuse to look at yourself with an honest point of view, or an honest evaluation of the bad things that you have endured. So as always, I would like for you to be bold, be brave, and be courageous, and I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.